talks, she can work with other parties.
And people said it would sound the death knell in the programme for government talks, and it certainly did not. In fact, I think it actually strengthened our hands, our negotiating hand in the programme for government talks, and it didn't distract me whatsoever.
A fourth arrest has been made in the investigation into the murders of a County Meath couple 5 years ago. William Maughan and Anastasia Varsavlane disappeared from Laytown in the spring of 2015. Gardaí have arrested a man in his 20s this evening in Dublin in connection with the case. 2 men and 1 woman are still being held after being arrested in early morning raids yesterday. And job prospects appear to be at the forefront of college choices this year, according to a top guidance counsellor. Engineering and construction courses also saw a rise in applications. Demands for arts courses fell, though. Education columnist Brian Mooney says that may be because school graduates want to be on campus in September.
They want to do something where, in many ways, they will go to college, because a lot of these courses, there will have to be hands-on practicals, whereas in a lot of courses in the arts and humanities, it may be a question this year of sitting at home in your bedroom looking at lectures online.
It's 9:02.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to the AA. Download the new AA app to request a roadside rescue and track the patrol right to your car.
Drier, clearer conditions developing in the north and west tonight, but patchy rain and drizzle will continue in the south and east. Lowest temperatures of 8 to 12 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Football Show on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power.
Remember sport? That thing you used to love? It's back.
Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
I'm prepared to do anything I can to
do
play
it
for my
then.
country again.
Do it then. What about your start to the game?
It wasn't bad, was it?
Why should an honest answer be a mistake?
How can a modern day manager not have a mobile phone?
Why should he?
Now later on in the Football Show this evening we'll be talking to Paddy Agnew about Serie A. In the meantime though, Premier League latest, 3 games completed. Manchester City 5-0 winners against Newcastle, very much in keeping with their season. 1-0 defeat on Sunday, and then they are scintillating this evening, and far too good for Newcastle, who have been very decent themselves, albeit they have played plenty of games. Jesus with the opener, Riyad Mahrez with the second, then there was an OG, Fernandez, and then David Silva scored a 4th, and Sterling scored a 5th. So 5-0, and Manchester City make off with 3 points. Elsewhere, West Ham, very much back in relegation mire. They lost at home to Burnley, 1-0. So suddenly West Ham find themselves level on points with Watford after Watford's win last night. And Aston Villa, who will be playing Manchester United tomorrow, have a game in hand if they win that, albeit a big enough if. But Villa will then suddenly be within a point of Watford, and West Ham will bring you that game live tomorrow, Aston Villa and Manchester United, by the way. And then the other game this evening, John Egan. 92nd, 3rd minute at a time. 0-0, Sheffield United at home to Wolves. There was a corner, and a bit like buses, he scored at the weekend. Scored again here tonight. Brilliant header. It was far from unchallenged. It was far from a free header. He got up and got his head to it, and probably took a bit of a crack in the cheekbone afterwards, and celebrations went wild. So it was a brilliant goal from John Egan. 1-0 winners Sheffield United. So they are the 3 games completed. As for the ongoing game, it's gone half-time at the Amex Stadium. Let's go over to Richard Newman.
Half-time, Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Liverpool 2. The champions clinical in the first 10 minutes of this game after pouncing on 2 mistakes from the hosts. Mo Salah opened a scoring in the 6th minute after David Proper gave the ball away on the edge of the area. And then less than 2 minutes later, Adam Webster lost possession. A quick move from Liverpool led to Jordan Henderson curling the ball past Matt Ryan. But since then, Brighton grew into the game and had the better chances. Neil Maupay should have scored from close range, but just before the break, Leandro Trossard, who's been Brighton's best player, thumped home a finish from a Tariq Lamptey cross to reduce the deficit. So is it game on? It's Brighton 1, Liverpool 2 at the break.
We will let you know across the evening. So as mentioned later on, Paddy Agnew talking Serie A. But first, Stephen Kenny was doing media today. It seemed the media at large were summoned to Abbottstown. Nathan Murphy went along, and he's with us now. Hey, Nathan.
Evening, Joe.
So this was pretty much, bar the initial, very much in the midst of COVID-type interviews Stephen Kenny did, and they were generally in-house from memory as well. This was pretty much his first meeting with the Irish sports media at large today.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting for Stephen Kenny because he would have quite a close relationship with the Irish sports media from his time as the League of Ireland manager and from being around the League of Ireland for decades. And most League of Ireland managers would have quite a good relationship and a close relationship with the media and feel it's incumbent on them to have just that so that they can promote the league. Whereas now he's in a very different position where he needs to try and keep it at a certain arm's length, while I guess still in trying to enjoy that honeymoon period where there's a warmth towards him from the media and also particularly, I think, from the supporters who are desperate for him to do well. So again, because it is still in COVID times, it's not the big press conference in front of a packed room, and we've been to various fancy locations through the years for managers' first press conference. This, where I interviewed him, as you'll see, was literally outside the front door of Abbottstown, not even allowed in the front door, for once, not for the usual reasons why we're not allowed in for Abbottstown, but for social distancing purposes. We weren't allowed inside the front door. And again, it was restricted, I think, to one journalist per newspaper, whereas quite often you'd have a gaggle of them there to cover this in a variety of different ways. But he seems very relaxed, seems as happy as can be with the way preparation is going. Obviously, I'm sure it's frustrating that he can't get along to any of the matches because there are so many, but it's just not worth the risk at the moment. I know Keith Andrews is over in England at the moment working with Sky Sports, so I'd imagine Keith will see a lot of games over the next couple of weeks. He was at Fulham last night where Harry Arter, I don't know if you saw this, smashed in a cracker from about 30 yards out, and he was one of the players who was name-checked by Stephen Kenny today. Not in the interview you'll hear. He covered, between the probably 10 interviews he did, he covered a whole lot. Players-wise, mentioned Harry Arter as somebody who's back in the mix, obviously having had a little bit of a fallout, it turned out, with Roy Keane and Martin O'Neill. James McCarthy, possibly the most interesting one, back in the mix again. Mick McCarthy had spoken to him around his final internationals when he was just breaking back into the Crystal Palace team, and McCarthy at that stage didn't want to come, and we all worried that maybe actually he felt his time with the national team had passed, but he just wanted to get himself back up to full fitness and playing regularly with the club, which he's been done. So Stephen Kenny says he's fit, and he could be a big player, you feel, for Stephen Kenny. He's settled right back in at Crystal Palace. Could we be going back in that game against Bulgaria to the three-man midfield that we saw so well during Euro 2016 with McCarthy at the base and Hendrick and Brady either side? I don't think it'd be a huge surprise.
It felt like the one we were destined for 4 years ago. Suddenly here we are. It never really materialised. And I saw as well, and this is something every Ireland manager has to get used to, he's quizzed about players would you consider bringing in? And I saw Stephen Ireland was put to him today as, would you consider Stephen Ireland, who had been doing an interview recently, I think in The Athletic.
The Athletic, yeah.
I keep meaning to get round to it. I'm told it's a brilliant interview, but Ireland was certainly saying he wanted to come back and put things right with Ireland and felt he could still do something. So I think Kenny, I mean, I don't know, maybe there was a...
Well, we had John Walters on.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be AM the following morning, and I'd heard from a couple of different people, all right, that Stephen Ireland was still involved with current players in training sessions and playing five-a-side, and skill-wise is exceptional. And John Walters was making the point that, well, that's not really a surprise because he is one of the most technically gifted players you would see. But the athleticism that's needed to play in the Premier League or even the Championship right now, that he would wonder whether Stephen Ireland would have that to get back in. And even then, Stephen Kenny was asked about it today, and I've read two different articles, one of which said, no, this won't be happening. And another was, well, obviously if he comes back and he gets to the level he was on at, we'll consider him. So there's lots of interesting little bits and pieces, I think, that people will read over the next couple of days. I do find with Stephen Kenny, there's lots of almost overly subtle, I don't want to say digs at Mick McCarthy, but questions of the previous era. He was obviously questioning of previous eras before he was in this role, and that hasn't gone away. And one of the things he talked about today in the press conference with the written press was that looking back at the previous games, so they've looked back at all of Ireland's games from qualification again and again and again, that Ireland weren't missing many chances. So people question our front players and the quality. He was making the point that they simply didn't create any chances. So there's not this long stream of missed opportunities from players who aren't good enough. They literally weren't creating any chances. So that's probably his first task, is to get them creating enough chances, because you're only going to ever take a certain percentage of them anyways. So he's talking a good game and certainly talking about getting them playing the style of football that people want and expect, but also being realistic, talking about maybe having one and a half training sessions before that game against Bulgaria. And that might be something worth getting into about John Egan and Matt Doherty and where they fit into all of this and what sort of system he can play to try and get all the players that he constantly name checks, which include Egan, Doherty, Duffy and Coleman, how you get all those players in the same team.
Okay, well, let's hear from him. Just before we do, was that that was the format then today, that it was one journalist one-on-one with Stephen Kenny and then next journalist is up, as opposed to some kind of big press conference, or did he do a presser as well?
There was a press conference at the end, so he did all the radio stations, television stations, and then went in and spoke to the 5 or 6, I think it looked like. It certainly wasn't the huge number you would expect. It looked like there was only 5 or 6 of the written press journalists there. So not 50 different cameras gazing down at him as might be expected for his first senior press conference.
Okay. Sit tight there a moment. We'll come back to you in a sec. Here is Nathan chatting to Stephen Kenny at Abbottstown today.
All right, I'm delighted to be joined by the Republic of Ireland manager, Stephen Kenny. How are you keeping?
Yeah, very well, Nathan, thank you.
Good. There's a lot of matches ongoing at the moment. Ordinarily, as the Ireland manager, you'd be in England week on week, keeping an eye on your players. How are you managing at the moment?
Yeah, no, we're very busy and it's great. You know, obviously the new background team, Keith Andrews, Damien Duff and Rory Higgins. You know, we've been able to completely analyse Bulgaria, their 8 qualifying matches. We've been able to absolutely sort of scrutinise their performances. They have a new manager, of course, and they've beaten the Czech Republic in since he's taken over. So we've been able to watch Finland and their campaign.
Yeah,
it's hard to believe. Pukki scored 10 goals for Finland, you know, in the campaign, which is amazing, really. And they've qualified for the Euros. We've managed to watch Wales, their 8 games. You know, we'd watch 2 games each, for example, and then present to each other. You know,
see if you're on the same.
Well, we
same
all
lines.
ask different questions all the time, and I think it's. We've watched Slovakia, very interesting games. Slovakia, contrasting games, and I think a very experienced, very settled team, and we've been able to watch them. We've been able to, obviously, through Y-Scout and Instat, you know, you're able to watch all of the games really in the UK and absolutely scrutinise them. So we're watching them all, and
you'll be the best prepared Irish management team there's ever been.
You know, we're the only team that's ever lived in Ireland, and that's a disadvantage at the moment. You know, obviously with COVID, but you know, we all live here. This is at the centre of the FAI. This is, you know, we're all hungry to do well, and I think we've been able to, like, every week there's 35 players you need to see, and their performances. Like, not all of them are playing, but we want to see as much as we can all of their performance, check on their current form, and analyse how they're doing.
And what about contact with your own players then? Because we've spoken to Matt Doherty and John Egan over the last few weeks. You said they had a Zoom call with you at one stage over the last few weeks. Are you in regular contact, or is it just so busy for them at the moment you wait till the end of the season?
I think I'm not in regular contact. You know, I think I'm. You know, we had good Zoom calls with all of the players, and you know, so we could articulate what I'd be looking for, and just to get to know them a bit better and understand their backgrounds a bit more. And I think, but there's a lot of players, and you know, I think I've been able to monitor all their progress, and I think we'll be meeting up shortly. You know, I think we won't see it going in now. You know, there's 8 games now between September, October, November. You won't see it flying in, and I think we're planning a course, how we're going to prepare and so forth. And
have you had to think about those communications on Zoom here? We have all had to get used to it, that you would have expected your first meetings would have been face to face, as to how you get across what your thought process is, what your hopes are for the next 3-6 months heading into next year, as how you get that across in the space of probably 15-20 minutes on a Zoom call.
Yeah, and I think we might revisit that closer once we name the squad. You know, we've an extended squad at the moment, and maybe when we, you know, in the week leading up to the camp in Bulgaria, because it's unusual. We come in on the Sunday. Some players could actually be playing on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And we fly on the Tuesday. So you actually only, you know, you have half a session on the Monday, depending on who's played on Sunday, and then train on Tuesday, and we're on the flight, and that's it. You know, we're getting ready in the stadium, and so that's the nature of it. But no, we'll have clear instruction. Everyone will be, You know, obviously it's difficult with just a couple of days preparation, but no, we will we'll make our tactical plan, what we expect of the players, very clear, and we'll make sure that we're as well prepared as we can be. Between like the various analysis meetings that you have, whether we do some of them on Zoom once we name the squad as possible, and whether coming in on the Sunday, between Sunday and Monday, before the game tours, everyone will have a clear idea of what we're looking for.
How long before you expect to see that tactical plan properly implemented on the pitch? Because expectations, as you know, are very high, and some of us have been guilty, more so than others, and there's probably an expectation among some people this will be a mix of Brazil 1970 and Barcelona under Pep Guardiola that we're going to see within the first couple of matches. Are you happy for expectations to be high? Do you think people need to tone it down?
It's irrelevant. I don't really mind either way. I think I'm comfortable with it, and I think listen, the main thing for us is we've got 8 games coming up, but to qualify for the European Championships in Ireland would be incredibly special, and we've never known that as a nation, to have the European Championships, have a major tournament in our capital city, like, be really, really special. And in order to, we haven't qualified out of the group. We're in the playoff because we're in Group B in the Nations League. We haven't qualified, so we've got to do it the hard way now. We've got to go beat Slovakia away, and then the winners of Bosnia and Northern Ireland away. So we've got to win 2 consecutive away games, which we haven't done. I don't know when the last time we beat 2 significant nations away from home back to back. So it's a big challenge, but it's one that we're well capable of winning. We've got a very, very good team potentially, I think, and so I'm looking forward to getting them together for the games against Bulgaria and Finland, and then getting ready for the first game. I'm glad Slovakia is the first game in October, and now that's on the Thursday as opposed to the Wednesday, gives us an extra day, which I'm pleased about, because that's massive in our preparations. If you're only getting players in the Sunday and they might have played, the fact that we're flying on the Tuesday and that game is back to the Thursday, which is great, and so we'll make sure we're ready.
You've spoken before about how pleased you are with the resources you have defensively in particular, and when you go through them, that they're a match for pretty much most teams in Europe right now, and the form they're in, the likes of John Egan, Seamus Coleman, the way he's emerged since the restart, and Matt Doherty consistently brilliant over the last 18 months. Doherty was saying he still feels it's either himself or Coleman. Have you sort of something set in your mind around that, or is it still too early to say?
No, it is too early to say, and I think and right backs is a position where we're doing quite well in, because actually Cyrus Christie scored a great goal for Fulham last week from outside the box, put it in the top corner, and he's actually been playing really well for Fulham recently as well. To be honest, I'm very, very impressed with. He hasn't played every match for Fulham because they rotate, but he's been very good. Seamus is just a brilliant captain, and has been a brilliant servant for Ireland. Matt, like John Egan, like, we have the situation where Matt is 28 and John Egan 28 now, and they've only played twice. John's only played twice for Ireland, and 3 times, 2.5 matches. And Matt's played 3 competitive games for Ireland, and yet they've been playing at the top end of the Premier League, and they, very, very, good players. So they've been very underutilised by Ireland, and we're waiting late in their careers to appreciate them. So I rate the 2 of them very highly.
Every time we see your name, you seem to have a new role and an expanded role within the FAI. Now it looks as though you're going to be on the FAI's executive.
No, to be honest, there's no change in position. I think on the manager of the team, that's all I ever wanted to be. That's all I ever wanted to do. I think the difference is that we're working here, we live in Ireland, we're working closely with the managers, Jim Crawford, under 21 manager, Tom Mohan, 19s, Andy Reid, 18s, Colin O'Brien, Paul Ozam and Jason Donoghue, all the international managers. We work together. We have we have certainly we're meeting today actually on teams today again, so we're meeting regularly, establishing a style of play that we want to formulate right throughout the teams, and I think there's been a lot of good work done before I was appointed. A lot of good work done before I was appointed, and I think we're out Dr. Technical Director and all of the coaches, and I think we want to formulate a team that gives a platform for us. We haven't had players like, believe it or not, Nathan, with Jeff Hendrick and Robbie Brady are 28 now, right? Now, apart from Alan Brown, who came from Cork City, and Shani Maguire played in Gibraltar, right? Apart from those two Cork City lads that have played once and twice in terms of starts, competitive games, the next player from the 28-year-olds is Aaron Connolly at 19.
Yeah.
So we've 9 years of no players actually making the breakthrough. 9 players out player coming through. So all of a sudden we've got all these players now that all the underage managers have been working with, and all of the clubs throughout the country have been working, and we have these players who I feel over the next few years are ready to come through, and we want to change that. Every year we want to have a production line, but we want to have a number of players who are capable of stepping up, and that's a lot of factors contribute to that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not just as simple of, some years obviously have better players than others, depending on we're a small country, I know when you got in comparison, but it's something that we can't ignore.
And I think everyone would agree it's a real step forward that the international manager has such an influence on football throughout the country. But
I have a strong voice, and
but there's the other side of it as well, that if you are on the executive, and we know that the struggles the FAI are within.
I'm not. My position hasn't changed. I don't want to be a director, and I've no desire to be a director. I don't want a title.
Because the concern would be that every other previous manager has been judged on results of the senior team. Well, that you may be distracted by cuts that are coming in the FAI.
No, I'm not. I'm like the way Gary Owens spoke to me, chief executive. I'm not a director of the FAI. I've no desire to be. I just want to be. I ever wanted to be the manager, but I have a strong voice. I've articulated that strong voice since I've been in as under-21 manager on all football issues, and there's a seat at the table for me to articulate that voice if necessary. But we just won't be getting bogged down in meetings about budgets and so forth in relation to various different departments, and I don't intend doing that. But there's a vacant seat there that I can step in and voice my opinion on major football issues, because we want football to be at the centre of the FAI. We have a new video analysis room coming in here. We never had one in the FAI, right? Okay, so me, Keith, Damien, we'll be here working from the FAI when we're not in the UK and other countries, looking at players. We'll be here. This is the send. This should be this. The FAI should be about the international teams, the National League teams, schoolboy football throughout the country, and the amateur game. And football should be at the centre of the FAI, and that's the way I feel about it. And all the other departments should supplement that, not sort of a fragmented set of departments in an organisation. It should be every other department should support the key football areas, and I'll be strong in terms of the international teams at all levels. We've had a period of austerity with the teams over the years where managers haven't been able to prepare the teams the way they would have wanted. What do you get from that? You get 8 years of non-players coming through. That's what you get. And I think or 9 years or whatever. So I think I'll make sure, Ruud Doctor's the technical director. It's his area to appoint managers. He's made great appointments, and I'm here to. It's a collaborative approach, and I think we'll work together in terms of trying to ensure that all of the managers get to be able to prepare the teams in the way that they need to.
Finally, you mentioned a strong footballing voice in the room. I know in your previous role with Dundalk, if there was what's going on in the League of Ireland was happening, you would have had a very strong voice and very strong thoughts on it. What have you made of what's gone on with the League of Ireland over the last few weeks and the constant discussions, and well, it seems finally a sign of a return to football?
Yeah, no, it must be very tough for all of the coaches and the players and the managers, coaches and players and supporters. I think it's a very tough time, and we must remember over 1,700 people died in this crisis. But I think you would have wanted, for the players, you just want to see them back playing competitive matches. It is the highest standard of football in this country. I think it's we want a vibrant league. Obviously, it's a shortened league this year. It's one that I'm just looking forward to seeing players back on the pitch. I think, you know, the 4 teams, Keith Long, for example, Bohemians, he's going into Europe, bringing Bohemians for the first time in many years. Yeah. They're going in. Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk, Vinnie Perth, first year in Europe last year as a manager, want to build on that. Stephen Bradley, in Europe last year, looking to benefit from that experience going again. Declan Devine, first year there, you've been in a couple of years, and he'll be back going in Europe again. And all of the players will be really looking forward to that. I think some of the players would have had tough times because they would have had their wages cut. Some of the clubs, they've been sort of struggling, I'm sure, with the current situation. So for them to get back and back to normality and playing is great news.
Yeah, great stuff, Stephen.
Thanks, Nick.
Stephen Kenny there talking to Nathan this morning at Abbottstown. Still 2-1 Liverpool, by the way, 56 minutes gone at the Amex Stadium. Nathan is still with us now. A few things jump out to me, and then I'll throw them at you, and you go wherever takes your interest. The most passionate he got there was when he talked about the place of the FAI in Irish football, I thought, you know, and what he wants it to be and the vision he has for it. A strong, vibrant FAI, a strong kind of lively Abbottstown is almost the vision he's selling there, you know, where it's not just empty corridors, it's the analysis room, and you have Damien Duff there and Keith Andrews there, and it's where ideas are swapped, and it's the heartbeat of Irish football, and it's alive, you know, in a way that it probably hasn't been at times over the last decade or two. And then the second thing which jumps out is, not surprisingly, the work ethic here is off the charts. This is not a manager who does not believe in the value of analysis and looking at videotape and opposition and doing so again and again and making presentations to each other and leaving no stone unturned and seeing 35, 40 players every week. Those were the two things actually which, you know, jump out in comparison maybe with the last 2-3 regimes.
Well, on the first point and the FAI becoming that hub of activity, it is one of the real shames that Stephen Kenny is taking over at this moment of absolute crisis within Irish football. The FAI are over 50 million in debt, with no possibility you would expect of any great crowds at the Aviva Stadium for the rest of this year. So it's not going to get any better. So as much as there is a buzz, I'm sure, of having a Damien Duff and Keith Andrews been around the place, been in the canteen, interacting with staff, there are probably far, far greater worries in everybody's minds right now. So it is, without question, a positive thing that there is that base, and they have no choice right now because they can't really go anywhere else. So I do wonder at this moment in time how much a difference that can make to the morale of staff around the place. But that's what the FAI should have always been. It should be top to bottom. He doesn't need to be going into under-16s training sessions, but that everybody feels they have an input and an impact and that their opinion matters. And also, which we started to see in the last couple of weeks with the GAA, where the inter-county managers can't get at their players, that they're holding webinars with club managers, telling them what they would like them to do, what their thoughts on the game are, how strength and conditioning should be run, that this sort of knowledge that they've built up and that they're gaining from watching, like as you say, the amount of matches that they are watching day in, day out, whether it's covering the road players or covering opposition players, and passing on what they're learning. So you're not holding it in, that actually everybody is gaining a little bit from the work and the knowledge of Stephen Kenny, Keith Andrews, Damien Duff, and all the rest of the backroom staff that are there. On the second point, I don't think there's any question he is going to grab this opportunity with both hands, and he realises the situation they're in terms of the limited amount of time they're going to have with the players when they come in. So to get that message across, whether it's on these Zoom calls and letting know what the grand plan is, but when they only have the players for 2-3 days on training sessions, that will be one of the difficulties here, is that not going to get a huge amount of time on the training ground. And when you talk to players who played under Stephen Kenny, they all talk about his magic as a man manager and sort of struggle to explain it, but it's just him on the training ground and how he makes you feel and gets into your head that you can be a bit of a world beater. Is he going to have that time with the players on the training ground? Because they've got 3 matches probably in September, potentially 3 in October, again into September, into November. Not a lot of time actually just relaxing with the players. It's all going to be pretty intense. So he's obviously trying to get as much done so that it's a very clear message when the players come in. So yeah, today again was like there's so much still up in the air. We have no idea whether supporters are going to be allowed travel to Bulgaria for that first game in the Nations League. Will anybody be allowed travel? Will media be covering the game? They're playing Finland then a few days after that. Again, will it be an empty Aviva Stadium? So all of this is still totally up in the air from Stephen Kenny's point of view, and how he plans all of this, and what difficulties might there be for players travelling in from England to Dublin around then. We are only talking 5-6 weeks away. So, and it feels as though everybody's in a slightly different mindset even today from 2-3 weeks previous to now as to where the virus is going. So there are so many difficulties. But I think when he looks at the players and how they performed over the last few weeks, he couldn't be happier. And it will eventually focus on, right now his back four looks to be Seamus Coleman, Shane Duffy, John Egan, Enda Stevens. Where does Matt Doherty fit in? He said today that he doesn't think you can turn around into a 3-man defence over the space of a training session and a half. So where does Doherty fit in? Is it on the right side of midfield? Possibly. It would be such a shame for Matt Doherty if somehow he ended up being the odd man out again.
Listen, great stuff. Thanks, Emil.
Cheers, Joe.
Cheers, Nathan, who'll be back tomorrow. Live commentary of Villa Manchester United, by the way, tomorrow night on the show. Still 2-1 at the Amex. We are talking to Paddy Agnew over in Rome next.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power.
When you've watched more Belarus Premier League than is healthy, proper football is back.
Gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
With a surge in the use of city parks during lockdown, is it time to brighten up our drab city streets with fruit trees? Well, Éanna Níl-Eanna, wildlife expert and vice chair of the Tree Council of Ireland, I presume you think it's a good idea?
Well, any kind of a tree is a good idea.
Hear the full News Talk Breakfast podcast at newstalk.com and on the News Talk app.
Petrol, diesel, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, electric, which one do you choose? At the Society of the Irish Motor Industry, we're here to help. We know different drivers have different needs, so we provide clear, simple advice on the benefits of each technology. Whether you're buying a new 202 or a used car, talk to your local SIMI retailer. Drive cleaner, drive greener. To find out more, visit simi.ie/drivegreener.
At National College of Ireland, our students are living proof that studying here can help boost your career.
I really wanted to do a master's that would get me a job, and something that NCI advertised on their open day was their really high employment rate after college.
I'm sure the MBA was crucial in my getting a big promotion at work.
It gives you an opportunity to step back into learning and to make a real change in your life. I think that NCI gave me a real pathway to success.
It changed my life, literally changed my life.
Prove to yourself what you can do with our wide range of full and part-time courses at National College of Ireland. Call 1850 221 721 or visit ncirl.ie.
Harvey Norman is here to help. Our spacious stores have reopened and have great deals across our entire range. With laptops from just €299, printers from below €39, big savings on home appliances with induction hobs from just €299, and big screen TVs from as little as €269. So if you need it now, you can get it at Harvey Norman. Shop safely in store or online with click and collect and home delivery available. At Harvey Norman, we're here to help.
Superb goal! With plenty still left to play for in Serie A, La Liga and the Premier League, Premier Sports is your home for the best of European football.
And what a wonderful goal!
Tomorrow we have 6 live games across the Premier League, Serie A and La Liga, including Bournemouth versus Spurs at 6 and Athletic Bilbao versus Sevilla at 9. Premier Sports is available exclusive to Sky Ireland via the Sports Extra Pack. Visit Sky for more details.
With the An Post Money app, you can open a current account from the comfort of your couch, as well as earn money back into your account when you shop with any of our partners. So far, our customers have earned over €1 million, because when it comes to your money, you deserve more than a bank. Download the An Post Money app or visit your local post office today. An Post Money current account. Money back is based on spend with selected money back partners. A monthly maintenance fee applies. See onpost.com. Terms and conditions apply. An Post is authorised by the Minister for Finance to provide payment services and is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland in the provision of such services.
TechFinder gives your business access to thousands of IT contractors globally on one direct platform. Browse thousands of professional profiles. Create job postings. With a no-commission policy, TechFinder's subscription platform does the work for you. Join now as a company or contractor at techfinder.com.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. When you've seen West Ham beat Preston in the 1963 FA Cup final for the 6th time, live football is back. Gamble responsibly. CWE.net.
Welcome back. 65 minutes gone at the Amex Stadium. Richard Newman is standing by.
Brighton and Hove Albion 1, Liverpool 2. Really good tempo at the start of the second half. The hosts absolutely playing their part and looked like they could threaten an equaliser. That said, it's the champions who've had the better chance since the break. Mohamed Salah should probably have got his second goal of the game after being set clear. He couldn't beat a combination of Albion keeper Matt Ryan and captain Lewis Dunk. And at the other end, Dan Burn has just gone close after a ball whipped into the box, the header across goal. Dan Burn couldn't get his effort on target. Could be a decent second half. It's Brighton 1, Liverpool 2.
65 minutes gone there. Brighton have had some decent passages of play in this second half, but still trailed 2-1. Over in the Nou Camp, by the way, it's Barcelona 0, Espanyol 0 after 40 minutes. We're turning to Serie A, though. Paddy Agnew with us from Rome. Hi, Paddy. How you doing?
Good evening, Joe. Good evening to our listeners.
Much to discuss. So just on a broad kind of a check-in, how is Serie A going? Fanless stadiums, we're all getting used to it. Is it being well received over there?
Well, any football's well received in Italy, and as you're getting used to it over there, they're getting used to it over here. The television ratings are terrific for them. And as far as the football is concerned, we've got a very surprising story here. Juventus look like they're going to win the title.
Yeah, the streets will go wild. I mean, there'll be no keeping them in on the streets of Turin as they try and digest the news. I saw, though, last night Lazio lost, who were there in second place, but Juve lost as well, 4-2 to AC Milan. Milan, just before I ask you about Juventus, are worth touching on. People may have seen the news that Ralf Rangnick is going to be the club's new manager for next season, German, and has been linked with various big jobs in the past, you know, Manchester United for a time, Bayern Munich, others. He will be Milan's 5th manager since 2016. They've had Montella, they've had Gattuso, of course, Gianpaoli, and Stefano Pioli, who's still there, took over in October. They're, 5th in the table, Milan. How far are Milan away from anything approaching very, very serious title contenders again?
Well, not this season, they're not going to be, obviously, but there's a problem. The problem is we don't know a lot about the German man coming into coach. He's people like Paolo Maldini, the former Milan great, who's been part of the direction of the club at the moment. He hasn't been terribly enthusiastic about this, and he would have preferred to find an Italian coach or stick with the guy who's doing a good job there at the moment, Stefano Pioli. You know, and for the time being, the club this season, to try and patch up a bad situation, they called back 37-year-old Zlatan Ibrahimovic to lead the troops from January on, and he's done it with very, very successfully. But I mean, it's not exactly planning for the future. And Ibrahimovic, as far as we know, will not be there next season. So a lot of questions about them. However, it has to be said they've got a very young squad apart from Ibrahimovic. And the sort of football they've been playing the last couple of weeks since the end of the lockdown and football's come back has been very, very enterprising. And they played very, very well against Juventus last night, and they were full value for the 4-2 defeat of Juventus. And not many teams can say that.
So is this the case with Milan of, given their financial woes of late, relatively speaking, they're going for youth over expensive experience, as Zlatan aside? Yeah, no, absolutely. They're not going to be in a situation where they'll bring in any $40 million, $50 million players. They're not going to go for that type of player for the time being. But they have young players like Rebic, the Croat, up front, Leo, the Brazilian, up front as well, Benacer in midfield. These are all players who are 22, 23, and their best football's in front of them. So, As for Juventus, as you referenced, they're 7 points clear in the table. They're still in the Champions League as well. Lyon are their opposition at the quarter-final stages. Sarri. So, I mean, Sarri, I don't think he's missed much around Stamford Bridge. They never really took to him. I presume Juventus fans were anticipating football akin to what we saw from his Napoli teams. What have they been on the end of this season? What have they been watching?
A certain amount of confusion in the sense that they haven't delivered the champagne football that he sometimes delivered with Napoli. But he's delivered the results. And as we all know, while he continues to deliver the results, he's fine. They disappoint. They started off after the lockdown with the Italian Cup, and they got beaten by Napoli in the Italian Cup final, and that was a bit of a setback by their standards. But since then, they had rattled in. Just looking at it here, they had rattled in, wins against Bologna, Lecce, and Genoa. Not to mention a 4 win against Torino in the Turin derby before last night. But last night was a disturbing result, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of scratching of the head. But the problems that they seem to have last night concern much more midfield blocking and defence.
I was reading that Ronaldo, even though he's still scoring goals and his numbers are still quite good, has not necessarily been the key man this year for Juventus. I don't know to what extent that's true, that it was more, I was reading, Dybala had taken centre stage, and this, not long after Juve had been open to selling him. Is that how you've seen things?
Absolutely, yeah. No, Dybala's been their best player. And he can be an attacking midfielder, he can be a striker, he's got a terrific vision. He's got he can do basically everything. He can score them himself. He can set them up, and he can hit terrific free kicks. He's a very important player for them. But to go back to Ronaldo, Ronaldo remains very useful to them because he last night's game, for example. Juventus go 1-0 up thanks to a penalty. Then they get Ronaldo makes it 2-0 after that, and it was one of, by his standards, very few shots he hadn't goal. But what I'm saying is he doesn't miss too many if you give him a chance in front of goal, and he's still very, very sharp.
And his body still looks good. I don't mean aesthetically. I know aesthetically he still looks in good shape, but he's still moving reasonably okay? No,
he looked fine. He was a bit. He's playing himself back into form. He was definitely one person who came out of the lockdown a bit slowly, and he did not play particularly well in the first couple of games. But he's playing a lot better now, and I think you'll find that he's going to be really important come the Champions League next month. He'll actually be very, very important.
Paddy, has this Arthur swap for Pjanic been criticised in Italy? It's been something we've talked about over here as effectively not a flouting of FFP, but certainly beneficial from an FFP point of view. Both clubs have been able to chalk up a profit of €60 million each on the deal. Now, there may be some footballing logic behind it for both clubs as well. Has that been a big controversy at all over there?
Well, if it has, I've missed it, but yeah. I mean, I could have missed that one. This is going to be a summer of some very strange deals, I suspect. And people are going to be, inverted commas, fiddling the books as much as possible.
And somebody else I wanted to ask you about was Alexis Sanchez, who is going to stay on at Inter Milan until the end of this extended season anyway. So as things stand, and I suspect Ed Woodward and the Glazers cry about this situation on a nightly basis, but as things stand, Inter pay Sanchez €191,000 per week, and Manchester United pay the other 300 and something thousand each week for him not to be at Old Trafford. It's just insanity in its truest form. Has Sanchez ever caught fire over at Inter? Has he ever had periods where he's looked like the player we saw at Arsenal? Just
beginning to.
Right.
Conte said the other day, I mean, admittedly it was a 6-0 win against Brescia, but he had a fantastic game, and a couple of games before that, he was starting to look like he was coming back to himself. But Conte absolutely said, this is a player we haven't seen the real Sanchez. He's just coming to himself. And he said at that time, I'm hoping that he's going to be really useful to us between now and the end of the season on our title battle, in the sense that he thought there was a title battle. Of course, since then, Inter have lost to Bologna, and they're most definitely not going to win the title.
Sanchez's drop-off in form was never really explained during his time at England, or, there were never leaks out of Manchester. Maybe attitude was talked about a touch as to why he had dropped off so much. Did you ever anything on the grapevine in Italy about why he had fallen off so badly?
It was put under muscle problems, I thought. More than it was a physical thing. Because, they're pretty familiar with him in Italy. They've seen him, and he started off here through Udinese, and he was absolutely dynamite. And I imagine they felt it was just that he wasn't physically 100%.
Right. What about crowds coming back? What's the COVID situation in Italy? Admittedly subject to huge change at any moment, and a second wave is something we all fear, but is there talk of crowds coming back at the start of next season in any capacity?
Well, the Football League and many of the club owners talked about getting crowds back into the stadium before the end of this season. That's this month. Well, that's not going to happen. But they hope that there might be some sort of reduced capacity crowds, like 15,000 in a big stadium, something like that. That's still very much in their minds, yes.
Okay. Paddy Agnew, as ever, thanks so much, Paddy.
Thank you.
Cheers. And I should let you know as well that Liverpool have just scored a third against Brighton. Salah with a header from a corner, 76 minutes on the clock. Liverpool 3-1 up.
Ronaldinho. This time Messi is onside, and it's an identical chip from the young substitute. Brilliant! And Barcelona wrap it up in style in the Camp Nou.
Messi. Oh, brilliant skill from Lionel Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
It's 2-0. It's Messi. He scored against an English club now. It's Manchester United. And a crucial time with 20 minutes to go.
Brilliant ball from Paddy Agnew. Is this the opener? Yes, it is! That's what they came to see. And he's provided the touch. His arms are reached up to the gods. Stylish finish, which Maradona himself would have been proud of.
Alba inside. It's Messi!
Again! The medicine man arrives and sinks his flaming spear into the hearts of Real Madrid. Astonishing from Messi. All the pieces falling into place. Messi, born in the crossfire hurricane, and he is jumping Jack Flash right here.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. It's not quite a TikTok lip sync of Donald Trump, but it's a close second. Gamble responsibly. See Dunlewy.net.
Escape to the Radisson Hotel Cork this summer from €149 bed and breakfast per room per night. Whether it's exploring Photo Wildlife Park or the English Market, enjoying the hotel's pool or lunch on the outdoor terrace, the Radisson Hotel Cork has it all for family holidays or couples getaways. Book now at radcork.com from just €149 per room per night. We look forward to welcoming you to Cork. T's and C's apply.
At Volkswagen Financial Services, our solutions are expertly engineered to put you in the driving seat. Choose the flexibility of PCP, low-cost HP finance, or the convenience of leasing. Add extras like servicing and maintenance plans. For Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, Seat, or Volkswagen commercial vehicles, discover financing options that match your needs and your budget. Talk to your local dealer or visit vwfs.ie/affordability. Volkswagen Financial Services. Affordability engineered for you. Finance provided by Volkswagen Financial Services Ireland. Subject to lending criteria. Terms and conditions apply.
Superb goal! With plenty still left to play for in Serie A, La Liga and the Premier League, Premier Sports is your home for the best of European football.
And what a wonderful goal!
Tomorrow we have 6 live games across the Premier League, Serie A and La Liga, including Bournemouth versus Spurs at 6 and Athletic Bilbao versus Sevilla at 9. Premier Sports is available exclusive to Sky Ireland via the Sports Extra Pack. Visit Sky for more details.
On Thursday, July 16th from 5 to 7 p.m, National College of Ireland is hosting a virtual open evening where our lecturers and admissions team will be live online to answer questions about our wide range of full and part-time courses. To register, call 1850 221 721 or visit ncirl.ie.
At Guaranteed Irish, we believe enterprise is at the heart of thriving communities.
Like Black Knight, the #1 Irish web host. From small beginnings in 2003, today Black Knight hosts more Irish websites than anyone else, offering email, domains and a range of business services. Operating locally and trading internationally, the Black Knight team in Carlow supports 84,000 customers in 130 countries. Guaranteed Irish welcomes companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
At ESB Networks, we keep the nation humming by connecting us all to Ireland's power network. The network is always live and dangerous, so please stay safe and stay clear of electricity wires. If you see a fallen wire, do not approach it. Report it on 1800 372 999. For more information, visit esbnetworks.ie.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. When you've done your hammer during PE with Joe, relax. The football's back. Gamble responsibly. See www.net.
That was Mo Salah's 19th league goal of the season, by the way. He is sneakily right up there in the goal-scoring chart. So as things stand, 2020 Premier League top goal scorers, Jamie Vardy is having a sneakily brilliant season. I'm not sure a lot of people would kind of twig that he is the top scorer in the league, but he's 22 goals this season. League goals, Jamie Vardy. Aubameyang with 20, and then it's Mo Salah now up to 19, which is good going. The only other Liverpool player in the top 20 in the league is Mane with 16. So Salah's maybe having a better season than we give him credit for in some respects. 19th league goal of the season. 81 minutes gone at the Amex Stadium. It's Brighton 1, Liverpool at 3 already this evening. Manchester City 5-0 winners at home to Newcastle. John Egan scored the winner for Sheffield United against Wolves. And West Ham lost at home to Burnley, so West Ham right back in the mix from a relegation point of view. That is our show done for this evening. We had a very good lineup. Jeremy Davidson is waiting for download. He was really good. The coach at Breve now was on with Keith Wood. We had Jim Gavin and Micheál Amura-Hurtig in conversation for the guts of an hour between 8 and 9. That is also waiting for you to download, and you'll have probably just heard the football show with Paddy Agnew and Stephen Kenny just gone. So tomorrow morning, OTBAM back with you 7:30, and then tomorrow evening 7 o'clock as usual. We're here on the radio. John Giles will be on, and then we have live commentary of Aston Villa against Manchester United coming your way tomorrow evening. Nathan and Vinnie Perth on commentary duty. As ever, if you missed anything tonight or beyond, the new Off the Ball app is the place to go. Just search OTB Sports app in your app store and you'll find us there. Free and brand spanking new. That's us done for this evening. Thanks as ever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Tom Dunn is on the way very shortly.